What's up, friends? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. I'm going to be talking about some more horror books in this video. I posted this video right here of all of the best horror books that I read in the entire year of 2025, and I feel like this video went over really well. We were chatting in the comments, like so many good recommendations came in. So in this video, I wanted to do a list of my favorite horror books, not necessarily from 2025. Just some of my favorite horror books in general and the ones that I just really love to recommend. So basically, let's get right into it. Starting off with Seed by Ania Ahlborn, and I have to say that this book is fantastic on audio. Sometimes audio is not everyone's thing, and that's okay, but if you like audio, go with audio for this one. The story follows a man named Jack, who's a grown man and has his own family, but back when he was a kid, he really felt like he was being haunted by something very sinister. Now it's all these years later and he has his own family, everything is great, but when his family suffers through a violent car crash, it triggers something that makes him think that that sinister thing from when he was a child is now affecting his youngest daughter. This is just dark, atmospheric, very creepy, and when it comes to the audio, the reason why I recommend the audio so much is because towards the end of this book, the narration itself gets so incredibly sinister, like literally your skin will be crawling. It is such a good, well-told story, and I just always love to recommend this one. The next one is Intercepts by TJ Payne. This is actually one of the very first horror books that I read. When I first started getting into horror, I was very timid just because I don't do scary. I don't watch scary movies. I can't even look at the screen when there's a scary movie trailer on. I have to close my eyes, and I don't do jump scares. Like, they make me crawl out of my skin. But in horror books, it's different. I can handle anything in a horror book, which is just really weird to me. This is one of the first ones I ever read to like test my limits, and I just loved it. It's about a secret government facility where they experiment on humans. They put these humans in like extreme sensory deprivation in order to unlock like different chambers of the brain. It's a very intense and violent story. The subjects that they're working on within this facility start doing things that they shouldn't be doing, like unpredictably becoming a risk to the people that work there. It's wild. I would say read this one if you like that. It's almost got like a secret hospital vibe, like the hidden government facility where you go to work every day, but nobody really knows like where you're going because it's so top secret. And then from the patient point of view, like I just pictured this to be like all white and all sterile and all just like very medically creepy. But this book was very atmospheric and immersive for me. Like I still vividly remember just the place I felt like I was in while I was reading it. The next one I have to say is gonna be the most disturbing, the most brutal, and the most extreme of the bunch. The Summer I Died by Ryan C. Thomas. This has one of those shiny covers, so hopefully the camera picks it up nicely. This book is wild. This one is about two childhood best friends. One of them comes home from college to spend the summer, and they're reuniting and looking forward to a fun summer together of just being boys and being reckless. They go out into the woods one day to do some shooting when they hear a woman scream, and they go to investigate the scream. They then find themselves in the middle of an absolute nightmare where this psycho crazy man, those words are not even strong enough to describe this man, but basically he is their worst nightmare. This is brutal, it is disgusting, it is all the things that make a book hard to read. Huge trigger warnings on this one. If you're sensitive to anything, please be sure to look those up before you dive into this book. And if you hate this, please don't blame me because I warned you. This is not for everybody, but it is one hell of a book. But yeah, this is one of my favorite horror books, even though it's extremely intense. On a bit of a lighter note, I love to recommend this series by Darcy Coates. So the series is called the Gravekeeper series, but this is book one. It's called The Whispering Dead. This is YA cozy horror, the complete opposite of the last book. The story starts off with a young girl who comes to in a cemetery and knows that she is running for her life. Her memory is not intact. She cannot remember who she is, who she's running from, and why. And she also has no idea where she is or how she got there. She's just running for her life. She finds sanctuary in this small town where she begins to make a home for herself, really because she has no other choice. She doesn't know who she is or where she needs to go. And we basically follow her journey as she meets people in the town that become like family, and she's trying to uncover her own past and her own life and what that means for her. This is one of my favorite series. I loved this so much. Like the sense of found family, the fun, cozy aspect of it. She also discovers that she can not only see spirits, but she can also communicate with them. So she has like this special ability. It is just such a fun series. There are 5 books in this series, I believe. Yeah, there's 5 books total, and it is a completed series. The next one I have is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This is another one that I highly recommend on audio for the sake of the narrator doing such a fantastic job with the voices. The story follows a very normal family whose world is turned upside down when they start to see that their 14-year-old daughter is showing signs of schizophrenia. But the story begins to borderline on, is this schizophrenia or is she being possessed by a demon? The story is told from the point of view of the younger sister 15 years later as she is being interviewed and recounting like her experience during that time in their lives. There's not really much more to say about this book aside from I loved it. I thought it was so good, and yeah, the audio is a must. Theme music by T. Marie Vandelly. This is a sensitive one. This one's not going to be for everyone. It follows the story of a girl named Dixie, and her history is that when she was a baby, her family sat down at the dinner table like any other day, and suddenly her father got up, went and got an axe, came back, and brutally killed every member of the family except for baby Dixie. Years later, that same house that happened in goes on the market for sale, and Dixie wants to buy it and move into it so that she can kind of like confront her past, and I don't know what she's thinking, but she's crazy. On the back of the book it says she didn't run from her past, she moved in. I loved this one. The reason why I say it's not for everyone is because there are parts of the story that get extremely graphic with that specific scene of the father and the axe, and some people really might not like that, but I feel like generally if you're a horror fan, you're kind of used to stuff like that anyways. But I thought this was a great book. It unraveled in a way that I just wouldn't have been able to predict. I didn't see it coming. It really was just very well done. Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. This one had a really great vibe. This is about a kind of dysfunctional family that takes this family vacation to an Italian villa. The villa that they happen to be staying in turns out to be haunted. This one did a really good job of blending the horror aspect of a haunted house with the family dynamic. The family dynamic in this book was very entertaining. The main character is just kind of shafted by everyone else in the family. Like, it almost makes you think, like, do they even like each other? Why did everyone agree to come on this vacation together if they all can't stand each other? But the main character gets the most of that. This one really stuck with me. I really enjoyed it. It was a short book, so it's a very fast read. And yeah, the story just stuck with me for a long time. It's since been one of my favorites. Another one that puts a fun twist on the haunted house trope is The September House. One thing about me is that I will never get tired of the haunted house trope. It's one of my favorites, but when it's got a bit of something unique, it really is what makes it stand out from the rest. So same thing with Diavola, definitely has a unique spin on it, but The September House, I would say, takes the cake in this category. It's about a husband and a wife who buy and move into their dream home, and eventually they start to notice that every September the walls bleed blood. Not to mention the fact that the house is still haunted by its former inhabitants. The funny part about this is that the husband is like, we need to get out of here. This is like, no. And the wife is kind of like, this is my dream house and I'm staying. She also develops somewhat of a unique relationship with the ghosts that haunt the house, and it just, like I said, really puts a unique spin on it. Maybe you guys are tired of me mentioning audio, but I really enjoyed this book on audio. I did do a tandem read with this one, and the reason why is because these chapters are extremely long, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have a very hard time with that when I'm reading a physical book. If the chapters are too long, I don't know, it starts to feel like a chore. However, with the audiobook, I was able to fly through it, and overall, I just absolutely loved this story. It's one that will stick with you forever because you're probably never going to read anything else like it. I have one more book, and the last one is by any means not the least because I absolutely loved this book, and it is The Dark Thing by John Ashley. If you watched my previous video, my last horror book recommendation video, you saw that I mentioned 3 of this author's books in that last video. This is the first one I ever read from him, and I just loved this one. It is very unique. Let me add a disclaimer though, because I have recently discovered that some people really don't like a religious aspect in a horror book, and I feel like this one definitely has a religious spin to it. That doesn't bother me at all. I feel like it adds to like the forces of good versus evil in a horror book, and so I enjoy that, but I understand that some people might not like that. This book follows a husband who doesn't know if he is developing schizophrenia or if he is being haunted by something extremely evil. Kind of similar to A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, but without the possession aspect. However, our main character is having bouts of forgetfulness and he's hallucinating, and as much as he tries to ignore it, it only continues to get worse and worse. He does have a wife, and I'm pretty sure it's 3 children. It's at least 2, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 children, and it really begins to affect them as well. A good definition of this book would be like a descent into madness, or like a spiraling into like darkness, I guess you would say. I don't know. I found it to be very atmospheric, and there comes a point in this book where the point of view switches like halfway through, and it's one of the most well done plot switches I've ever read in a book, if that makes sense. It just kind of like delivers one perspective that's really immersive, and then a second perspective that makes you reconsider so many things. It's one of my favorites. I just overall think that this was a very well done book, and like I said, John Ashley is one of my favorites. I don't think he can write anything that I'll dislike at this point. And that is it, guys, for this video. Those are some of my all-time favorite horror books that I love to recommend. Horror is such a fun genre, and I'm really looking forward to finding more horror books to read this year. I find myself getting into like times where like I just crave horror and want to binge read it. Right now I'm currently doing that with thriller books, but horror always has its turn, so I'm excited to dive into more books this year. If you guys read any of these, please come back and let me know what you thought, and I will see you guys in the next video.